Hey there, happy Thursday, and welcome to my channel. If you're catching me for the first time, my name is Priya, and I am a transformational intuitive and mindset coach. I work with women over 40 who are just really looking to make a change in their life. Maybe your entire life you've been riddled with anxiety and depression and thinking, okay, is this really my life? And then we hit 40, we're in a period of perimenopause where our body's changing, and then we hit menopause, and then we're in postmenopause, and we're entering the second act of our life where we really can start to live a life that we want. So if you're catching me for the first time, nice to meet you. Thank you for being here. And before we even get started, just remember to subscribe to my channel, like, share, comment. I read all my comments and I respond to them. So please do share your feedback with me, because I take it seriously, and I want to hear what you have to say. I want to hear what people need, and if the messages that I'm sharing here resonate with you. One of the reasons that I created this channel to begin with was, and why I actually prefer it to Instagram and Facebook, is just because I can talk. I, I have, if you've followed me before and heard some of my other videos, I am a speech pathologist by training, spent years and years helping others to communicate, really to find their voice. And I was muted that whole time. I didn't even know I had a voice. I didn't even know that I was being shut up, and because of that, everything in my environment was reflecting that I was muted. My relationships, I wasn't allowed to speak up, and friendships, if I spoke up, people would turn their back on me. And so as I shifted in my business, I eventually stopped doing speech therapy in the capacity that I was doing it before. But I said, you know what? I want to start helping people to find their voice. I can't be the only person who's had a wake up call and said, really, is this my life? So, like I said, if you're catching this for the first time, this is a little background on me so you know about the channel and you can decide whether you want to subscribe or not. Um, I had an awakening in 2019, and that was the catalyst for some significant change in my life. I dealt with anxiety my whole life, and I didn't even know I had it. I just was so used to the chronic stomach ache. I was so used to there being an exam, and there was just a stomach ache. For me, it manifested as stomach aches and heart palpitations. I lived with that for close to 45 years. I'm close to approaching 50, and I realized that this is what I've been dealing with for 45 years, and I didn't even know it. And it was ruling my life. It was ruling my relationships. It was, I was miserable and didn't even know it. I describe this to some people as I felt dead inside and I didn't even know it until I had a glimpse of feeling alive. And then it was like, wait, there's got to be more. There's got to be more. Now, as a woman and as a person who's gone through perimenopause and is currently postmenopausal, this time doesn't it's not a coincidence that these shakeups in our lives as women start to happen around this time. We get our periods at between 11 and 15, 11 and 13 maybe. And our body's going through these hormonal changes, so many significant changes, puberty, all of that. And then, we become teenagers, and then we're at school, you're finding other people attractive. It's just all of these things are happening. And then we head into adulthood. Now, I'm from a society where marriage and having children was really enforced and emphasized. And so that is what you're striving for. Have a good career, get married, have kids. And for some people that will work, that's their path, and that's okay. And for some other people, there's just a dissonance in that. Something about it is not resonating, and that was what happened to me. Here I was striving for that, like my whole 20s and 30s was about that, trying to find someone that could be a partner and I could have kids. But what I understand now is that dissonance was that my soul didn't really want that. It was just societal and cultural pressure that was telling me that I wanted it. So, um, yeah, that's just a little bit about where I'm here. It's not where I wanted to actually go today. Today, I actually wanted to talk about over responsibility. Are you an over responsibility taker? That was me. And so I'm going to go a little bit more into it. I did take some notes to go over what I would like to discuss with you on this video about being an over responsibility taker. So that was me. That was me. I was the kind of person who said yes to everything. I carried everyone else's burdens, and I still felt like I was never doing enough. Yeah, that's an over responsibility taker. It I want to go in today why we do it, how it's hurting you, and then most importantly, how to stop. Guess what? It's not your job to fix everything. Let's unburden together and let's say that together. It's not my job to fix everything. I was that over, if I got into a fight with somebody, friends, even back when I was a little kid, there was this inherent feeling, this the inner over responsibility taker that said, you need to fix this. You need to apologize. You need to go grovel because they can't be mad at you, even if something was done to me that shouldn't have been done. In romantic relationships, definitely the over responsibility taker. Even if the other person acted in a way that was just not nice or in integrity with who I am, or just downright mean, I was the one taking responsibility and trying to fix it because I couldn't sit with the discomfort of it not being fixed. I just this pattern stemmed from way before I was, can even remember. 6 years old is the number that's coming up to me. So let's say that again. It is not my responsibility to fix everything. So let me paint a picture, okay? There's a friend who needs help moving. Your boss drops extra work on your desk last minute. Your partner asks you to plan a whole weekend getaway, and you say, sure, I got this. And then you're up till 2 a.m. You're stressed and overwhelmed. You're, reacting to people and being called a bitch. You're, snapping at people and taking out your frustration on other people. And you're just wondering, why am I like this? If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. Over responsibility takers are everywhere. We swoop in to save the day, and even when nobody asked us to. It's like we've got this superhero complex and without the cape or without any gratitude. I remember years ago, I lived in Japan, and my whole pattern throughout my life was wanting to be liked. I was so desperate to wanting to be liked and accepted. And it was torture, just torture. And I lived in Japan. We went on a ski trip together. There were a couple of people there that I didn't even know, and one person had to get her skis, and I was sitting in the car. I was all settled in. We could have gone. It was that person's set of skis that she was responsible for. Something within me, I don't know what activated. I got out of the car and I'm like, I got it. I got it. Why the hell did I need to get her skis? Why did I need to take responsibility for her skis? Yet there was that part of me that was just like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to save the day. She's going to like me. So let's see. Why do we do this? It comes down to three things. I just mentioned one, people pleasing. We, and I'm not going to say you, I'm going to say we because this is where I was, are scared of letting others down or being seen as selfish. Ask yourself where, if you can think back to when this people pleasing started. It could go back, it doesn't necessarily have to be within your family dynamic. You may be carrying ancestral patterns. And that's a whole other area that we address in my program, is looking in your Akashic records to find any karmic patterns that have got you in this pattern of people pleasing. That's, and a lot of times we don't want to be seen as selfish. We want to be seen as, no, I am giving, I am loving, I am kind, I'm a good person. Really, I want you to see me as a good person. So you go out of your way to please people so that they can see you as that. I ask you this question: what happens when you do this? Do they see you as a good person? Do you get that validation? Or do they just go on treating you the way that they always have treated you? In my experience, people pleasing never got me anywhere. It actually worked against me. Number 2 reason: control issues. You believe that, or we believe that if we don't do it, it's not going to get done right. Now, I can resonate with this big time, because I used to think, like, if I'm not going to get this done, it's not going to get done right. It's not going to get done on time. Let me just do it all. Let me just do it all. When you start to do that because, like, nobody else can handle it, or you've got this idea that things can't be done without you, guess what happens? You watch my video before this one, it was about burnout. Between the people pleasing and controlling and trying to make everything happen so perfectly because you believe that you are the only one that can get this done right, you're just going to end up burned out, depleted. That leads to frustration, resentment, reactivity, overreactivity, and ultimately this cycle of anxiety and misery that, you're trying to figure out, how do I get out of this? The third one: unhealed wounds. Somewhere along the way, we learned that our worth is tied to what we do for others. Ouch, right? That's a tough one. That's a tough one. But awareness is the first step to breaking free. Yeah, somewhere along the way, somewhere from when we came into this body, into this existence, into this lifetime, we learned that our worth is tied to what we do for others. And so that's been this pattern that's been running in our field, that, my worth is the only way that I have self-worth is by what I'm doing for others, is by just saying yes to others, is by chronically people pleasing, is by chronically doing all the things for other people, picking up other people's skis when it's not even your responsibility. I worked in a very toxic environment in Harlem in a public school. And yeah, I can say it was PS 92 in Harlem. And it was such a toxic environment. Administration was toxic and punitive. And I did everything to people please for them. I did everything to try and get everything done the way that it should, because it wasn't going to get done otherwise. And as a result, did I get treated any better than any of the other staff in that school? No. We were treated poorly. We were treated like doormats. We were yelled at for no apparent reason. But yet I had it ingrained in me that I needed to keep doing this because that was defining my self-worth. As a matter of fact, if we talk about self-worth, I didn't even know what that term was. I didn't even know, like, that I was defining my inherent self-worth from this external circumstances. Let's talk about how it hurts you. Taking on too much responsibility doesn't just drain your energy. It steals your joy. It steals your essence. And I talked about in the beginning of this video about this dissonance of this human existence that we're going through, and then what our soul really wants. And when there's that dissonance, that's what creates these disruptions in our life, because we're not listening to our soul. How many of you from early on as a child were told, well, what does your soul want? No, you were told what you wanted. You were maybe told what you needed to learn in school. You were maybe told what your trajectory is going to be, right? So this is part of it. It steals your joy, the over responsibility taking. It leaves you resentful. It leaves you burnt out. And it leaves you with absolutely no time to focus on your own dreams. That's what, you think, okay, I'm just going to do this for other people. And you think it's such a small thing, yet it's eating away at your soul. It is stealing your joy. It's leaving you so angry and resentful that you start taking it out on others. It leaves you burnt out. We can all talk about signs of burnout. You're just like, why the hell do I need to be doing this? Who cares? You're just like, I guess this is what I got to do for the rest of my life until I'm 65, retired. And you resign. And then you also lose sight of what are your own dreams. If you're anything like me, and people used to ask you, what are your dreams? I used to say, dreams? What dreams? Dreams are the things that I have at night when I go to sleep. Other than that, I don't have any dreams. Because I was living for others. I was too busy taking responsibility for other people, other situations. Worst of all, taking over responsibility taking teaches people that you're their go-to for everything. And that creates this endless cycle of overwork. And I've been in dynamics where I set the Zoom meeting, I set the calendar invite, I set that. When I don't do it, it doesn't get done. And before I used to take that burden on. Oh my God, I screwed up. Shit. Oh my God, what do I do? What do I do? And this happened this morning. Instead, it was like, oh, well, I didn't do it. Did anybody else? And I got feedback from everybody else. No, we didn't. So did you send out a text message? Did anybody else set up the calendar if you didn't see it? Nope. And guess what? I didn't take responsibility for it. And life is fine. Nothing suffered as a result of that. But you do create this endless cycle of overwork. And if, just maybe even several months ago, in this same scenario, I would have probably been resentful. And then I would have been in this shit show spiral in my head. Like, I can't believe they're doing this. Then I go into judgment. And then I go into anger and then resentment. And then I go into who knows where it takes me. It just, like I said, it's an endless spiral of thoughts. Let's be real. How often do people thank you for bending over backwards? Exactly. And you deserve better. Let's talk about how to break this cycle of being an over responsibility taker. Okay, let's talk about solutions and how you can reclaim your time, how you can reclaim your energy, and start to actually connect with that soul version of yourself that is in you. That is you. That's your higher self. I've got a few suggestions here. One, learn to say no. Practice saying, I can't take this on right now, without guilt. One of my most favorite lines to say now is, sorry, I don't have the capacity for that. Capacity, I use that word multiple times a day. Workplace, in my personal life, I don't have the capacity for that. So yeah, try that. I can't take this on right now. Without guilt. Life is going to go on. Things are going to get done. Next one. Ask yourself, is this really mine to handle? Spoiler, it usually isn't. Those skis, really mine? Do I need to be putting those in the car? Yeah, no, I don't. So ask yourself, is this mine to handle? And times maybe there is something in there that you can handle. But if not, you don't have to take responsibility for it. Let people take ownership. Allow people to take ownership. Empower others to solve their own problems. If you do have an argument with a partner or spouse, you don't have to be the first one to go in there and fix it. Sit with the discomfort for a second. That things are just, you did have an argument or a disagreement. And it's not a power struggle. There definitely doesn't, I think this can overlap with being passive aggressive, well, you caused this fight. I'm not going to do anything. So I'm going to just sit back and I'm going to give you silent treatment. No, I'm not talking about that. It's allow people the space to take ownership themselves. I often tell people in one of my, I would call myself a serial entrepreneur. Once I had a taste of working for myself, I was like, I'm never going back working for anyone. So in one of my other businesses, I often guide my staff to look at things with curiosity. And so if something didn't get done that needed to get done, rather than going into judgment and harsh tones or harsh language, oh, was there a reason that you couldn't get this done? When you look at things with curiosity, you empower others to solve their own problems. Next one, set boundaries like a boss. Yeah, set boundaries like a boss. It's as simple as that won't work for me. That's life-changing. When you start to set boundaries, you create an energetic box for yourself that people can't plug into you. Boundaries are one of the healthiest things that you can do for yourself. Whether it's a close, intimate relationship, family, or friendships or work, you need to have boundaries, or else if you are an over responsibility taker, you're going to be sucked into that over and over and over again. Set the boundaries like a boss. Yeah. And, things like that won't work for me. I'm sorry. I don't have the capacity for that. When you are open to people, overstepping boundaries, they can plug into you. I have a really good friend, Najat, who's now passed. And when I first met her, there was a 20-year age difference between us. And she was so wise. She knew all of the things that I am talking about now. And I didn't know this 20 years ago. And when I would talk to her about this person did this and that person did this, she'd say, Priya, close up your holes. And I'm like, what does that even mean, close up your holes? And she said, it's like you have outlet covers all over you, outlets on you that you would stick a plug into. And none of them have protective child covers on them. So people are just plugging into you left and right. Once I understood that concept, once I took charge of my energetic body, understood that I do have an energetic body, and that I'm going to close up my holes and set boundaries, I was hardly getting people plugging into me. And if they did, it was on rare occasion. And it was because I had set boundaries that I was so aware of when my boundary was open. So think about how you would want to set that boundary. Sometimes just saying, no, I can't. No, I'm busy is life-changing. And like I said, when you do something uncomfortable, it can be uncomfortable initially for a while until you settle into it and you start to actually feel the freedom from setting boundaries. Next one, prioritize you. Your needs are just as important as everyone else's. When you stop overcommitting, taking over responsibility, you start living. And trust me when I say this doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you a free person. It liberates you. You can actually have room to breathe. It makes that stomach ache from anxiety go away. So what do you choose? Being tied down and locked into all of these things and being miserable, being a prisoner in your own body, mind, and soul? Or do you choose being free? Because guess what it takes to be free? Prioritizing you. So, are you ready to break free from being an over responsibility taker? Let me know in the comments which of these tips you're going to try first. If you found this video helpful, hit that like button, subscribe, and share it with anyone who needs this message. You've got this. And just keep reminding yourself, take care of you. You're worth it. And you're not here to solve the world's problems. There's plenty of people to handle their own problems.